I'm Ann Griffin, and I'm a product leader and product coach. And this is the Product Mind Lab. I talk a lot on here about the future of product management, how AI is changing products and what we build and how we build it. And while I've been talking a lot more so about the tools that we use in product management that use AI, leverage AI, I'm going to start talking a lot more about humanness in AI and in product in general. And the goal of this is not to create a narrow definition of what humanness is and what exactly it means in a product, but to start a discussion around it because I think it is a bit complex and it's one of those things that when we see it, we know it. But I'm not here to say this definitively is or isn't humanness as we build products. And I want to talk more about it because I really do believe one of the things that AI can do that most other products can't is give us a human like interface that can be interpreted in a number of ways for whatever it is we're trying to do, whether it's in a business setting, in a personal setting. I think that is really big, and that is something where we as humans have a very strong, subconscious, but also conscious reaction to things that interface that are also human like. And in 2019 is when I first gave my talk, Human First, Product Second. Also did a workshop in 2020 on the same topic. And the goal of that was two parts. One, to explore, um, you know, understanding how this technology works, especially in AI, but understanding that to best understand how do we build in this technology in a way that humans can actually relate to it. And some of that comes with thinking about, hey, if this technology, has these issues or these challenges, these are things that we have to overcome to make it actually work and relatable for people that were maybe not necessarily included or thought of when those type of products or that technology were first thought of. And the second part is when you're actually building these, thinking about how do I build something that inherently makes the user feel like the technology is being empathetic towards them. There is a level of technology that works really well, that just flows and we don't really notice it, but we don't feel the empathy because it just works. But with AI, there is this level that we start to feel like we are working with another person. And one of the things that actually came up, so a connection of mine, Sadiq Rogers King, he was actually talking about on LinkedIn the other day about some of the things that Claude does that just makes it feel a lot more human when you're working with it as well as its output. And that's also why a lot of people I talk to say that Claude is their favorite LLM. Large language model for those of you who are not familiar. So they really love using that for editing their writing or doing other writing tasks with Claude. The other thing that I noted, and I'm going to see if I can actually clip this video together with what I'm about to share, but I'll say it and I'll share it, is when you ask Claude to edit something, instead of starting where it's rewriting everything all at once and erases everything it originally wrote, it goes paragraph by paragraph, which at first I thought, oh, that does feel a little bit more intentional, a little bit more human. And I had to ask myself, well, why? And one of the things I came to really had to do with when you're editing a Google Doc and you see somebody else in the document, they're generally only able to edit a sentence at a time, maybe a paragraph at a time. So while Claude isn't necessarily at that level and it's able to move much faster than a human, thankfully, but that is something where it feels like someone else is in that document with you. And Anthropic does such an incredible job thinking through these things that make their products feel like there's a bit more human touch to them. And that's the type of thing that I want to start exploring. And yeah, I think there's a lot that even in the past I've talked about. Even in 2017, I actually wrote about a wrote about the potential of chatbots and specifically about how you could use them in healthcare settings, especially waiting rooms, especially the emergency room, and how building them in a much more empathetic way, assuming you have, the technology that can actually support the level of empathy you want to make it seem like this chatbot has, there's a lot more you can do than having everyone rely on the really exhausted person that's responsible for intake in that emergency room. So how does that give people updates? How does it respond to people? Healthcare is a little challenging now in like retrospect. I realize like maybe not the best use case because not specifically for liability reasons, but because I was going to say people generally in the United States don't pay extra for that type of service in an emergency room, as in like the hospital probably doesn't want to pay for it. But I think that there's a lot of other settings where people are willing to pay a premium to give their own clients, their own customers, that feeling that they're interfacing with another human. And one of the things, before I go into, hopefully I'll be able to edit this video clip. If not, then I'll end the video here. But one of the things that really solidified this for me was during the 2020 lockdowns, especially as someone where I live in New York and lived in New York the entire time the lockdowns were happening. People were losing their minds, not just specifically in New York, but like around the country after about 2 weeks of being in lockdowns. And one of the things about that was I think people really felt this need to be around other people, to not just have conversations on Zoom or on the phone. They wanted to be together in the same meeting rooms. They wanted to be together, to get dinner. They wanted to have this togetherness. And I think that is something where because I think many of us have blocked out that period of time, we often forget how much subconsciously and consciously we as humans really want that connection. And I think AI gives us a lot more potential to have that connection, even if it is in a semi-transactional way, that people are just going to feel a lot more compelled to interface with. And one of the other things I recently tweeted about was actually, if I'm on hold and I hear that robo voice that's like, hey, press 1 if you need this, press 2 if you need this, I don't really want to do that. I kind of just want, number one, I want it to understand me. If I say, hey, I'm speaking English, like you don't have to guess. It'd be awesome if it just could listen to me talk and be like, yeah, that person needs English. And then the other things is, instead of making me go through this long process, if it can be a little bit more conversational and sound like a person, because what I notice is that people in that feeling of loss of control while they're waiting to get to talk to an actual person, they get really frustrated while they're waiting to talk to a real person. And so by the time they're on the phone with this other person, they are really upset and they're not having a great conversation, and actually probably makes their conversation take longer for that person to help them because they are upset and they're frustrated and they're not clear headed about what it is they're trying to solve. So we're going to explore this a lot more, but thinking through humanness and what does that mean in a product. And I'm going to hopefully tie this into a clip I'm going to have of Claude and its rewriting and what I mentioned about how it feels a little bit more like being in a Google Doc with another person. But I will talk to you soon. See you there. So this is my AI editor. I call her Edna, in Claude. And actually, let me move my face here in Loom. So this is Edna, and she helps me edit actually a lot of the articles I write here on the Product Mind Lab. And one of the things I realized recently is the way Edna will edit things. So you can see this article I actually wrote, I think a couple weeks ago here. It's already published, but I'm going to say, hey, Edna, anything in this article that feels a bit hard to understand or clunky, can you help me rewrite it? And I'm going to just say, don't do massive rewrites, just tweak things that can be a bit better. I'm going to update it to my writing voice, and then I'm going to hit go. And you're just going to watch on this side Okay, Edna's identifying some things that we can improve here. Okay, awesome. And so Edna is actually, let's see, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna just say, those sound good. Can you edit them in the fact article? Okay, so here you'll see, so you see she just added, she's making some edits, and you see it's actually section by section. So while this is much faster than a human or myself would actually edit in the document, I really like seeing that it is section by section, and it's not, hey, I'm just gonna delete all of it and then show you I'm rewriting it. Because it's an edit, it's actually showing me where it's editing at that time. So it may have been a little fast here in this video, but I just wanted to show an example. So hopefully this is helpful. And yeah, we're gonna talk more about humanness in AI and tech and products. So stay curious. Bye.